Hey there. So, I recently had a moment where I felt hurt, frustrated, misunderstood, and my nervous system went into full overdrive. Has this ever happened to you? If I'm being honest, part of me wanted to hold on to that emotion where I'm right and you're wrong moment. Been there, right? So I knew I was right and it didn't make it wrong. So, like, I knew I was right in the process and it didn't make the other person wrong. It just meant we understood how to communicate and respond differently. Sometimes our ego shows up when we least expect it to. And I'm going to show you where it's at. All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of You Are Meant for More. I'm your host, Francine Ayala. And I can't wait to dive into today's episode, you guys, because it came from a place of authenticity of something that happened into my life recently. And I wanted to share how I spiraled out of control and lost my grounding in the process. As a coach, speaker, someone who's worked on their emotions, somebody who knows how to navigate situations, was on the other side of reacting versus responding. So, jump in, you guys. We are going to take it from the human experience to God's spiritual connection and where He's guiding you in your life. And at the end, I'm going to share some reflective questions for you so that you can ponder and, of course, reach out if you have any questions. So, grab your notebook, your journal, pen, paper, coffee, tea, water, maybe some wine. I say a little, but I want you clear so the coffee and tea would work perfectly so that we can jump in. All right. All right, you guys, let me go ahead and pull up my notes. I'm excited that you're here. Let me know if you're joining live or you're catching this on replay because we all love a good story, don't we? Bring it to you. Oh my goodness. But it's what's phenomenal about this is how it affected me in the moment and how I get to share it with you in a space of love and honesty and real time because I want you to understand what you go through, what your experiences may be. Okay. So, whether you're joining us on another episode you've been watching for a while, thank you so much. I'm truly honored that you keep coming back. Or you're catching this episode and it's new, I hope you love it enough to share it with somebody who needs to hear this message. All right, you guys, here we go. Okay, so let me go ahead and pull up my notes because you guys, I dove into this with everything that I had. And, God guided me through this process. And I just had that aha moment. Of course, working with my coach and then, of course, going to God. And I was like, okay, I'm giving this to you. What is it you want me to see, know, understand today? And I'm going to share how this works, you guys. I share this because it comes from a place of understanding His message, His will, His guidance in your life. Okay, so grab your Bible if you have it. It's okay if you don't. You can always go onto your phone and take a look because sometimes I forget my Bible at church and I just have my cell phone. So I'll literally just type in the message or the chapter that we're reviewing that day, which is fine. All right. So I need to share a little context about what transpired in my life yesterday without throwing out too much personal information. Okay. So let me preface this by saying I've had tons of professional and personal development training that I have aligned with strong values such as communication, honesty, loyalty, integrity, and accountability, just to name a few. So, first off, what are values? Just in case you're not familiar with what values are are core beliefs and guiding principles that dictate a person's behavior, decision, and priorities, forming the foundation of their character. You can search that on google.com. That's exactly where I got it. And it's really understanding where that person believes to be in their life and how they maneuver through their life, and it's very strong in relationships. These are my core values. This is what matters to me. and you have those conversations with somebody else in your life, your partner. Okay. So, or even in business, in your career, people get to understand you as a person, and then they get to understand what you value most. Okay. All right. So, my boyfriend and I had a miscommunication that took place yesterday where one of my core values was affected. This then sent my nervous system into fight, flight, and eventually crash mode. So, have you ever experienced that? Your body just kind of reacts and has all of these like feelings, and you're trying to calm it down. Your blood pressure maybe goes up, your heart's elevated, your heart's pounding a little bit faster. You start to feel a little bit of breathing faster. Things your everyone's body adjusts differently. But I'll explain more in a bit about how to regulate that. The number one value that I would say I have is communication. I was a communications major, and everything to me is communications, loyalty, honoring each other. And if you all know the if you all know the horoscope, Virgo is huge on that. Virgo. So my thing is, don't lie to me, be honest. That is my true number one. Just communicate with me. Whether it's good or bad, I don't care. Just communicate. So a lot of women tend to have this one, since women love to feel safe, and protected in their relationships with their partners. So throughout our relationship, I brought it up several times because I guess the nurturing person in me didn't want him to fail. Meaning, like, I was just kind of guiding him into that, like, hey, just make sure you communicate with me. And yeah, so that could have been just something that came up for me that was like, why do I have to keep reminding him? But I wanted to make sure that he didn't fall into that, if that makes sense. Again, you guys, human. We do all things that our brain understands and processes, right? So my brain thought I was protecting him from it happening, or at least that's what I thought. So stay with me, okay? So I was speaking to him yesterday, and what came up was like an innocent lie on his part shot my nervous system into turmoil, you guys. I reacted. I cut off our phone call. I reacted versus responded by not grounding myself first. And as a coach, I've worked on my emotions, and I've shown up many times in a space of being grounded. So let's break it down. And I just got to say, sorry, babe, if you're watching. Sorry for throwing our story out there, but I promise it has a happy ending, so stay with me. My nervous system reacted out of anger, and it rose really high. For this for this to happen to me, actually, it must have really affected me to a higher level. But what happens, let me break this down for you all. Our bodies hold on to emotions. They hold on to situations, experiences from our past. So anytime I was lied to, felt anger, or didn't align with who I am, my body shot off signals to protect itself. And it does that to you. That's the human biology. The human in me responded with hanging up, allowing anger to control me, and shot back via text to tell him what he did was wrong. Stay with me. Now, as a coach, I know that when things aren't right and I feel attacked, I need to look inward and find out what's going on. This is what usually happens, or what I usually do. But for my new boyfriend, semi new, it's been 8 months. My body put up a wall and had all the soldiers shooting out missiles to protect me. Again, your body will go into fight or flight mode, and it will do anything it can to protect you. So my nervous system was shooting back in all ways and to its full capacity. And So I took some time. After I was done, I took some time and I just kind of sat back and I contacted my coach. And she brought me back to being grounded. And I gently sent a follow up text message to him that we'll chat later. I needed time to process and reflect because this deeply hurt me. Of course, being like the fixer that he shared what he knew to be true in his eyes, right? In his brain and his eyes. And he, of course, apologized that it affected me so much. And I love him for that. But there's more depth than he was aware of at the moment and more than I was aware of. So, are you with me? Are you following along? If you're joining me live, let me know you're joining me live. If you catch this on replay, let me know you're here too. If this has ever happened to you, you're feeling the moment, right? You understand. And just say, been there, done that, understand, I'm here with you, whatever that may look like. Okay. So I'm going to have you all questioning your life and what's coming in the future, but I promise you'll gain clarity out of today's message. Or I'm sorry, out of today's episode. Well, message and episode. So are you ready for more? Did I keep you going? Did I keep you going? Am I hooking you? So I know it's so funny because everybody loves a good drama, right? I'm telling you guys, I follow this one account where she has drama every single day, and I am so hooked. We love drama. We really do. And it's funny because I don't play into drama. I just find it fascinating that she's drama, that she has drama every day. And it's like, it's pretty good. I love it. Yes, I'm here with you. Awesome. I love that. Thank you so, so much. I don't know the name. It just says Molina Love 11. I hope that's Carmen. I told my friend Carmen, join me. I hope that's her. If it's not, I'm sorry. I'm welcoming all the love. So whoever it is, just let me know your name. Okay. So like I mentioned, it took me several hours to process. And when I got home, I was extremely tired. You guys, when you set off your your nervous system, it just goes on high alert. You know, when people experience anxiety and things like that, and they feel their body shaking, that's their nervous system. It's doing its best to protect you. And so I knew exactly what was happening to my body. I understood. Yes, Carmen. You guys, I love it. Thank you, love. I appreciate you. Okay, so when your body's on this high alert, it's hard for your body to relax. So we chatted for a bit in the evening. I chatted with him. I let him know, like, hey, this is what's happening. My body is just in this overdrive mode because I'm a communicator. Regardless of whether we don't see eye to eye, he knows that I will always communicate with him. I will never leave him hanging. I will never make him feel less of. I just need time to process. Anytime I get mad, I need time to process. And so I've always been upfront with him. And that's taken me a long time to do, as an adult, as somebody that's, growing herself in a relationship, whatever that may look like, even in my own, business and in my own career, I've grown so much to just be at peace and communicate properly. Okay, so stay with me here. All right, so we chatted, as I mentioned, for the evening, and I just told him I needed more time. I needed more time to process, and we would speak in the morning, and I was calm about it. Okay. So the recap is we had a disagreement. I felt justified in my emotions. I could feel the tension within myself, and my nervous system went on high alert and I spiraled. So that happened around 2 p.m. in the afternoon. I got home around 7 p.m. and my body was still activating, shooting off little missiles. Just like I was trying to talk to the soldiers, you all need to settle down there. But I rested, I fell asleep, and when I woke up, I went to God. Okay. Now, before I did this, I want to share really quick because I went over it by accident, is breathing techniques. I've shared in the past how to regulate your nervous system. But when I was doing my deep breaths and I was holding it and breathing out, I noticed that it wasn't as effective as when I normally do it. So, if you, depending on where you're at in your intensity level of your nervous system reacting, which I knew this one was really high than what I'm used to, I should say, I knew that something else needed to happen. And so, I went to ChatGPT and I typed in, like, I need breathing techniques to calm my nervous system down. Maybe there was one I was missing. Because, you guys, I'm always open to learning, guiding myself, right? And it said, instead of the high, deep breaths, it said just to do a low breath in. So the one where you just breathe in through your nose and you allow your belly to what do they call it, to rise. There you go. I'm like, what's the word? So you just breathe normal. You breathe in through your nose and you let your belly rise, and then you hold it for 2 seconds, and then you blow out as long as you can. It usually says like 6 seconds, but I always do it as long as I can because I know that calms the nervous system more. And that one worked for me. So don't take because your body's already activated, it's not going to allow you to get that big, deep breath. So I wanted to specify because I know I've done those breathing exercises in the past with you all to kind of guide you. But there's another one that is a little bit more softer as you're going through this process. That one they said to do 5 to 7 times. On the 5th time, I was like, oh, so much better. Anyways, had to share. Okay. So remember, I fell asleep, woke up, dreamt like crazy. I knew I was exhausted. And I went to God. I was like, all right, God, here it is. You got to just give your problems to him. Just give it to him no matter what. Okay. And so, I still got Carmen's name there. I love it. Carmen! Okay, so what he did, I said, all right, God, what do you want to do? Like, where are we headed? Tell me where to go in the Bible. So you guys, I told you to get out your Bible. And if you don't have it, like I said, jump on your phone. You know what chapter he threw me into? I'm laughing because anytime I share my story about God, I tell him about Jonah. Now, Jonah is a book in the Bible on how Jonah ran away from God after God told him to do something. And Jonah's like, yeah, no, I'm going to go this way instead. So I always tell people, I'm Jonah. Well, he threw me in Jonah. Okay, so I said, it was so funny because I was like, what book do you want me to be in today? And he right away I don't even think I finished asking the question. And he said, Jonah. And I was like, okay. Yes, I know I've ran away from you many times, but Jonah, really? Okay. So then as soon as I said Jonah, he said Jonah, I said, okay, well, what chapter? He said 8. Well, now granted, there's no 8 chapters in Jonah. So I was like, 8 had another meaning for me. Okay. And I'll share more about that in a bit. So, okay. Did I lose? Oh my God, you guys. Sorry, I lost my notes. That is odd. Okay, I just want to make sure I stay on track because I want to do these. Okay, here we go. Huh, that's odd. I don't know why I jumped to the beginning. Okay, here we go. So he led me to Jonah, chapter 4, and what I read shifted everything. I knew what I felt, but I also knew I needed a higher perspective. So higher than me, obviously, higher than my coach. The coach is kind of like your guide, and God is going to be your answer where everything is going to come together. Okay. So before I lead you into Jonah, I'd like to share something a little bit more deep. And I am going to break it down more next week, but I want to give you a little bit more context so that when we dive into Jonah, you start to see what I saw. Is that okay? Are you okay with me going a little bit deeper on this? Say yes, let's go. It's okay. All right. So I want to share with you a little more about ego. Now, if you don't know what ego is, it's okay. I didn't either. I just, every time I heard it, it always meant like it was a bad thing. Like to me, it was like ego. Oh, your ego is showing up. I remember my coach used to tell me that. Well, that's your ego. What do you mean? And then I started to understand. But see, what happens is when we break down ego and we start to understand what it is, then we can realize, oh, okay, this is what continues to protect me, right? So ego is a part of you that tries to protect you. But often it keeps you stuck. And this is very profound because it keeps you stuck in a place that your conscious mind isn't aware of. Sorry, your subconscious mind is. Excuse me, I don't know what's going on. So it's not evil. It's basically fear dressed up as control. So your body is remember, it's going to try to protect you. So it's going to shoot out ego. So stay with me here. Ego isn't who you are, it's who you became to protect yourself. That's ego. So I'm going to break it down a little bit more. Ego shows up when you feel threatened, when you feel seen, or unseen, I should say, when you feel unseen, when you feel hurt, when you feel out of control, and instead of pausing, it reacts. So where did this show up in my relationship? Where did this show up in yours? Can you think of a time where you felt threatened, unseen, hurt, you felt out of control, and instead of pausing, you reacted? Let me know if this is coming up for you, if this is clicking with you, just let me know. So I'm going to share the difference between ego and alignment. So ego says, I need to be right. Alignment is, I choose peace. Ego says, they hurt me. Alignment says, what is this teaching me? Ego says, let me prove my point. Alignment says, let me protect my energy. Ego says, I deserve to react. Alignment says, I choose how to respond. And I've done an episode on like react versus respond previously, but I haven't done a full dive into ego, which is something that's going to be coming up for the next episode. And I'm just going to give you a few quick examples on how they can come up in your life. So like an argument in a relationship, your ego says, I'm not apologizing first, they started it. The alignment is, do I want to be right or do I want peace? And then how it could come up in like not getting a response from someone. Like if you message someone, you don't get a response. Your ego is saying they're ignoring me. That's disrespectful. But the alignment is, I don't know what they're going through. Let me just stay grounded. Or maybe it's on social media. Why are they doing better than me? That's ego. Your alignment is, what's meant for me is still mine. And if at any time you've ever felt disrespected, your ego will say, I need to check them. How many times have we said that? I need to check them. I need to make sure they know what's right. But alignment is, not everything deserves my energy. Okay. So I can go deep in ego and alignment back and forth to give you guys examples, but I just wanted to share a few with you so that you are aware about how it is protecting you, but also is keeping you stuck in spaces in your life, like areas, whether that, like I said, relationships, careers, anything like that. It can keep you stuck. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and jump back in. And before I do, I wanted to share what I did with the ego and alignment. So taking things personally was this is about me, right? And the alignment is, this may not have anything to do with me. And that's where it all shifted for me. Not only was I reacting to past experiences that affected me emotionally, but I also had my own ego show up there. It was like, hey, this is where I was doing the tug of war with my boyfriend back and forth. We could still communicate from a place of love without being affected by our past. So understand where that came in that process. I hope this is like all connecting. And just remember that ego reacts fast and alignment responds with intention. Ego is loud, urgent, and defensive. And God, alignment, is calm, clear, grounded. Okay, so we're going to go back into Jonah, and I want to see if you all can find out where ego is taking place in the book of Jonah. So now that I broke it down for you, I think you'll have a better understanding about where this is going to come up in Jonah. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, so first off, let me just share that I want to give you a little bit of context about Jonah. So Jonah is a book in the Bible that's only 4 chapters, you guys. So like from here to here, that's all it is. So if you get a chance, definitely read it. It's an interesting read. And to just preface and sum it up for you, God asks Jonah to go to a city called Nineveh. I'm probably saying it wrong, but it's Nineveh. And, and Jonah's like, yeah, no. He's like, I'm going to go elsewhere. So he basically disobeys God, and he goes down to like a port and gets on a boat, and that boat then starts to experience this huge storm. And all of the fishermen on the boat are like, what is going on? Why is the storm so heavy? Why is it knocking us all over the place? We need to figure out whose fault this is. So then they turn around and they start asking and giving I forgot how they worded it, but they basically started asking whose fault is it? And then it pointed to Jonah, who was like sleeping at the bottom of the boat. He didn't really care that they were going through this chaos. So they're like, okay, well, we're going to have to do away with you. They threw him in the ocean, and God had a fish swallow him up to protect him. And so Jonah's just sitting there like, oh, fine. You know what I mean? Thank you for saving me, but fine. I need to be more obedient and I need to come to you. So the fish ends up spitting him out and he praises God. Okay. So he goes to Nineveh and he tells the people pretty much, hey, if you don't straighten yourself up, God is going to come down and destroy your country, basically. Town, city, country. He's going to destroy it. And so they all took it as an act of okay, well, we better do what he says. So they started, changing who they were. They started wearing burlap and just sitting in prayer and just turning away from their evil ways, right? And so what happened was God gave them grace. God gave them grace and mercy. Okay, so now we are all going to jump into chapter 4 together because I'm going to show you what happens next. So I got notes for you guys. Jonah chapter 4. Jonah's anger at the Lord's mercy. I just want to ask you all, again, let me know. When you see Jonah's anger at the Lord's mercy and you just look at it and be like, didn't God ask you to go into Jonah and you saw this? So how many of you would have been like, oh, okay, I see where you're going with this, God. I see that. This is how he talks to me, you guys. He leads me and guides me, and it makes me laugh every time because I'm just like, I see what you're doing. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and break it down. All right, so let me put this in the middle. Oops, I moved me, not this. All right, that's fine. Okay, this change. So this is when it starts with the breakdown. This change of plans greatly upset Jonah. So the change of plans is that God said, I'm going to give them mercy because they've turned away from their, let me see. Let me bring up my Bible really quick. Okay, when God saw what they had done because they turned away from their violence and their evil ways, God decided that he wasn't going to destroy them. So he changed his mind and did not carry out the destruction he had threatened. Okay, so those are the change of plans. So the change of plans greatly upset Jonah, and he became very angry. So he complained to the Lord about it. Didn't I say before I left home that you would do this, Lord? This is why I ran away from Tarshish. I knew that you are a merciful and compassionate God, slow to get angry and filled with unfailing love. You are eager to turn back from destroying people. Just kill me now, Lord. I'd rather be dead than alive if what I predicted will not happen. You guys. Now, when you read Jonah, you're going to see him having these little hissy fits throughout the way. But really? Okay, really? So then the Lord replied, is it right for you to be angry about this? Like, is it? Why is he mad at God for not destroying a country, or city? Why is he mad? This just really makes me, think, right? Then Jonah went out to the east side of the city and made a shelter to sit under as he waited to see what would happen to the city. And the Lord God arranged for a leafy plant to grow there. And soon it spread its broad leaves over Jonah's head, shading him from the sun. This eased his discomfort, and Jonah was very grateful for the plant. Watch, you guys. Watch, watch, watch. But God also arranged for a worm. The next morning at dawn, the worm ate the stem of the plant so that it withered away. And as the sun grew hot, God arranged for a scorching east wind to blow on Jonah. The sun beat down on his head until he grew faint and wished to die. Death is certainly better than living like this, he exclaimed. How many times, you guys, have you pouted and fought and just exclaimed with so much frustration and anger with God that you're just like, forget it. Fine. Just, you don't want to do this for me. You don't want to help. Then just do away with me. I did something similar. I didn't say, do away with me, but, I told them to stop using me. I remember that. So then God said to Jonah, is it right for you to be angry because the plant died? So think about it. Is it right for you to be angry because the plant died? And then Jonah retorted, yes, even angry enough to die. Oh, man. Then the Lord said, you feel sorry about the plant, though you did nothing to put it there. It came quickly and died quickly. But Nineveh has more than 120,000 people living in spiritual darkness, not to mention all the animals. Shouldn't I feel sorry for such a great city? So what does that make you reflect upon? Shouldn't I feel sorry for such a great city? So when you think about it, he got upset because of what God was doing. He got mad because the plant withered away. He got mad because the heat came at him. He was just like, oh, I just want to die. And he's like, you feel sorry about the plant though you did nothing to put it there. It came quickly and died quickly, but Nineveh has more than 120,000 people living in spiritual darkness. So do you understand how he's showing us that how we can be super selfish in our lives and in our part here? So we maybe be like, oh God, why them? Or why this? Why that? Why is this happening to me? Why is this? And we have all these questions, but we're not looking at the greater purpose and understanding about the thousands of people that we can help spiritually. I literally saw that and I was like, oh. Yeah, my petty little argument didn't matter. I completely forgot to bring this, you guys. I hope you were able to hear me clearly. Sometimes I forget my little microphone. Toot, toot, toot. Anyways, I literally like had to share this with you all. I just thought it was so funny because I'm like, a few months ago, God had said, bring people back to the heart because that's where I'm at. So it allowed me to reflect on where is this showing up in my life and how am I not being loving the way God is love? Because God is love, you guys. And when we start to see this, when we start to understand the connection and these stories and how they make sense, and the little things we argue about, the little things that are petty versus the thousands of people that we can support. So this is all where ego came out. Did you see the ego within Jonah? Did you see his ego like just stomp and pout everywhere? Did you see how he was so frustrated and angry when it really had nothing to do with him? It had everything to do with other people. But he was so selfish to not see that. And it's like God showed him mercy and love. So why was it not okay to give to other people? Still with me? I know it's crazy. But of course, I had to share because this is so powerful, you guys. This message is in alignment. So here we go. All right. So I went ahead and broke that down for you in the different areas. And somehow my notes got crazy again, but that's okay. Here we go. Okay. So Jonah was angry. Here's a recap. Jonah was angry. God showed mercy. Jonah didn't agree with it. Jonah wasn't wrong for feeling, but he was also out of alignment with God's heart and what God had wanted for his life. So God asked, do you have a right to be angry? Just because you feel something doesn't mean it's aligned with who God is calling you to be. And that's where the shift is, you guys. Because no matter what, he will always show you where it is he wants you to be. And this is where I coach and teach on the human experience because we don't know how to do it further past our own intuition. This is where it hit me because my emotions were valid, but they were not meant to lead me. Feelings are real, but they're not always righteous. You can be hurt and still choose humility. Okay. So God is not asking you to ignore your feelings. He's asking you not to be led by them. Because when you choose alignment over reaction, you step into who you were truly created to be. And God's response wasn't correction with anger. It was mercy. So this is where God shows up a lot, where he's giving that mercy to the people. Because God sees the bigger picture. God leads with compassion. And God invites, not forces. And God will meet you in your emotions, but he won't leave you there. God's mercy will always call you higher than your emotions. And if there's no longer an alignment in your life, it doesn't mean the person is bad. It just means that there's time for decisions to be made. You both get to move with ease and grace for one another. And that's true alignment. And this is what I realized. I didn't need to prove my point. I didn't need to stay in the emotion. I needed to realign. Because the woman I'm becoming doesn't let her emotions override her obedience. And that's what he was calling to me in today's message. And I had to share with you all because I know you've experienced this as a human. I know the human experience because I tried to run away from God for so long. And when he kept throwing me back in the fish's mouth, I was like, all right, fine. We eventually surrender and we become obedient because we know that his life and his way is better than our own. Okay, so I want to ask you all a question. Actually, I want to give you several questions to reflect on. And I'm just looking if I want to add this in the chat. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. Okay, so I'm going to add it in here. Here we go. So number 1, where in my life, that you're asking yourself, where in my life am I holding on to anger that God may be asking me to release? Okay. So you guys can always pause it, come back, write it down, but I want to get all these questions over to you. This allows you to reflect. And this is usually what I do in my mastermind workshops. I give them journals so that they can think on it and they can respond to it because they're able to reflect. Okay. Number 2, am I more focused on being right or being aligned with God? Okay. Number 3, is my emotional reaction coming from truth or from ego and hurt? Now, there are going to be times where you're going to be like, well, I know I was right. I know I was truth in it, but I want you to take a step back and be like, okay, where do I need to understand? Where's the lesson here? You can still have the feelings, but process the truth. Okay? Where you guys are both understanding each other. And if there's that ego that's going to continue to come up, or if you're going to be in alignment. Okay, 4. Have I ever been upset about something that God was actually using for good? Have you ever been upset about something that God was actually using for good? Many times. So this is kind of reflecting on Jonah's story. So Jonah got upset at God because God, like, in a sense, freed the people from being destroyed. And God was actually using it for good to protect them and giving them mercy, like he gave Jonah. Number 5, where am I resisting God's will because it doesn't feel fair to me? Oh my goodness, you guys, I can go on and on about this one because the human experience is we will look at other people and we will resist God's will because it's not fair. Why do they have this? Why do they get this and not me? I'm dedicated. I follow you. I've been following you for years. I've been preaching your name, but I don't get any of that. Where's that ego he's asking you to release? Number 6, am I extending the same grace to others that God extends to me daily? I'm always like in amazement when I go to church and I hear the pastor talk about how people share angry things on their social media about other people. And I'm like, there's no judgment, people. But it's like, am I extending the same grace to others that God extends to me daily? It's crazy. It's like all this is all reflection, right? 7, what situation am I still emotionally attached to that God may be asking me to surrender? And this is good, you guys, because the other day I was speaking to a potential client and she brought up something that it's funny because I'll have a lot of clients say where they'll say it out loud where they're holding on to anger, where they're holding on to the frustration. And ultimately, I know already what's taking shape in their life and how they're getting affected by it. So whether it be their emotional state or whether it be their body, like their physical body is shutting down because of the emotions that they're holding on to. And I was telling my accountability group yesterday, I was like, I know what I do is life-changing, and the stuff I coach on and how I guide my clients through, I know it takes people out of their, for lack of a better term, crap. Because people will sit in it. They will sit in their own You know what? Because they refuse to let go of the anger, of the maybe the any type of anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt, the emotions that we carry. They refuse to let it go. So therefore it's showing up in all areas of their life and affecting them internally. And I'm always just amazed, like, if they understood exactly what to do next, and they can then start working through that process. But I can only work with people who are ready, open, and willing. I can't do, like, I have conversations. So with potential clients, I'll get them on the phone and I'll ask questions like, hey, so how's it going? So tell me what are you looking to do? How can I support you? And I know when there's alignment and there's ego. And you can tell right away that they're holding on to something, and I'll say, okay, well, are you ready to work through that? Are you ready to release it? And if they say it's not my fault, it's not my problem, they're not ready. And if they but it, again, it's their process. Now, don't get me wrong, I won't stop there. I'll ask more questions to dive a little bit deeper. And there's been times where I will decide you're not ready yet, and let's reconnect in, like, a month or two. Or I've gotten them down to really get down to the root of why they're holding on to it, and then sharing with them how I can help them through that process. And that's when they start realizing, okay, I'm holding on. I have such a tight grip on what's keeping me stuck. And a lot of people do. I did. I remember sharing in a past story that I held on to something so tightly, but our subconscious mind does it. Our conscious mind's not aware of it. But when you decide you're ready and you're open and you're willing and you're, what's the word, coachable, then things will change in your life as long as you're open and willing. There's no ego attached. Okay? I get you out of that fight or flight mode. All right. So number 8, do I trust God's mercy even when it's shown to people I don't agree with? There it is. You got to show people mercy no matter what they've done to you, no matter what has happened in your life. Oh, that's a whole other section I talk about on forgiveness. Because the thing is, no matter what's happened in your life and what they've done in your past, it's no longer about them. They only showed up with the tools that were given to them, and they responded accordingly. You get to then step into your power and your purpose and decide that you're not going to let them hold any type of ailment over you, any type of frustration, any type of anger, any type of emotion over you. You stand in your power. I just want to know, am I dropping the gold? I'm just wondering. If I'm dropping gold, let me know. If I'm dropping all of the things that you needed to hear today, let me know. Don't be shy. All right, number 9. What is God trying to teach me in this moment that I may be overlooking because of my emotions? So when you guys are in a space, which I like to create, and this is why I want to go to retreats. Like, I want to take my coaching from mastermind workshops into retreats, because when I do the work that I do, I need calm, clarity, just this space of where it's kind of almost like, when you take yourself to a spa and there's that, soft, calming, relaxing music, and you're able to just unwind. I don't like working with people when it's like via Zoom. I don't like it when we're, when I used to do one-on-ones, I did it in my personal office where I was able to control the environment, whether that be like what was around us, the temperature, I was able to ground them. So when I talk about doing a retreat, I talk about getting these people into those types of calming areas. And I'm able to control the area that they're in so that they feel safe and protected. Because the work I do is very deep and it is emotional and life-changing. And so anyways, more to come on that. I share that because that's something that's been on my heart a lot lately, was to switch to retreats. And so, yeah, more to come. Okay, so I did this one. What is God trying to teach me in this moment that I may be overlooking because of my emotions? So sit with that one, you guys. I want you to write on it. Take some time, be in a place of solitude and silence. And me, the way I like to work is I'll put worship music on in the background. And then I'll just kind of close my eyes and I'll reflect and I'll listen and I'll receive. But I need that time to be at peace. Okay, so that'll work for you too, if you allow it. And lastly, if I chose alignment over emotion today, what would my response look like? So no matter where you're at, you can choose one thing that you're holding on to. And if I chose alignment over emotion today, what would my response look like? You'd probably feel more grounded, more focused, more intentional, more aligned, more connected. Just like a peace. There's a peace in that moment of alignment. All right. Any questions? I'm going to wrap it up, you guys. But if you have any questions, thank you so much for joining live today or catching this on replay. I'm here for any questions that you guys have. So drop them in the chat now so that I can answer them. Okay, so I'm going to pull up my notes again. And I'm going to bring it home, you guys. Okay, so you're not wrong for feeling. Okay, so let's do a recap. But you are responsible for what leads you. And when you choose alignment over ego, peace follows. And this is the peace that I always talk about when I talk to people. Like it's, in the beginning, it was really hard for me to share God's love, God's word, God's direction with people because I felt like, how are they going to understand me? But when I talk about like the peace that comes with it, like you guys, I'm like, I want that for everyone. I want them to feel that peace that comes with God's alignment. And again, as I shared today, my story about how I got rocked to my core, I was still able to process and find peace afterwards. And I shared my story because I know what it feels like to be in that human space and have our emotions go crazy and have our responses fly out of our mouths sometimes. And we just need to realign back with what our purpose is. Okay. All right. Any questions? Not yet. Okay. So if this spoke to you, I want you guys to comment alignment. So even if you're here live or on replay, I want you to comment alignment. Okay. I just want to know that this really spoke to you. And if it didn't, that's okay. Maybe you can share it with somebody that it will speak to and you like, I know somebody this is going to hit with and I want to share it with them. But go ahead and type in the chat alignment if that spoke to you. Okay. And then, of course, be sure to subscribe for more content like this and also to my newsletter. You guys, how important it is for the newsletter to happen right there. Nope, I did it wrong right there. I always do it backwards because I'm like opposite. So definitely not screenshot that. QR code it. What do you call it? Take a screenshot? Yeah, with your phone. Anyways, so that'll come up, that QR code. Definitely sign up for the newsletters. You guys will get the information of my upcoming workshops. Again, I do the workshop virtually, but like I said, I have this retreat process in my head where I definitely want to look into doing retreats coming down the line. So stay tuned. I'm going to be, sharing more details about that. And then of course, more like tips on how to stay in God's word and God's alignment with your life. And again, not new stuff, well, maybe new stuff on how life can always trip us up, but we can come back and stay grounded. I guide you through all of this. Don't let your emotions run your life. I'll show you how to manage them so that you feel empowered and not empty. And I got you. I got you 100%, boo. If you are here with me and you know who I am, you know I got you. Stay with me and be sure to share this episode if it spoke to you. And thank you so much for the love. You guys, I appreciate you, every single one of you who is here and catching this. I love you guys, and I will see you next week where I'm most likely going to dive into ego and really break it down for you guys. Okay? So go out there, love on people, stay blessed, and know that you were meant for more. I'm Francine Ayala. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you all next week. Take care.